Hello everybody, this is Talon with another Nutrition Tier List, a series where I break down all the options in a given food group and rank them based on how nutritious they are and how good they are for your health. Today's is kind of a compilation list as we're going over plant proteins. Not a definitive food group, so the inclusions will be a little more up to me. We're going to be seeing a lot of old protein-dense superstars from previous lists, as well as many new foods that I couldn't justify putting on anything but a plant protein tier list. Now, before I piss off the carnivore crowd again, let me clarify some things. I am not advocating for a plant-based diet, vegan or vegetarian, and I probably never will. I believe animal-based foods, meat, dairy, eggs, etc. are far too beneficial and essential to completely leave out. But I also recognize that there's a lot of people that will not agree with me on that no matter what I say, and those people need protein too. And arguably more importantly for everyone else, there's still a lot of merit in this plant protein genre of foods. Several of them are just some of the most nutritious foods on earth that can still be included and appreciated even if they're just supplemental or because they taste good. And one last thing to make clear, I'm still going to be judging the foods as a whole, as judging them based purely on their protein content would make for an aggressively boring video. However, I will be weighing protein heavier than usual as it is the primary through line. So, looking at the tiers for this video, we're going to be comparing the nutrient content and benefits of each food against any shortcomings or health concerns that they may have. Keep in mind that these lists are ranked independent of each other, so an A-tier plant protein may not equate to an A-tier fruit or an A-tier vegetable. All numerical nutritional information on this list and across the series is based on 100 grams of the individual food, for the sake of consistency and ease of comparison. And before we get started, let me know what your go-to plant protein choice is and what tier you think it'll land in. Plant protein is here to show you that whey is not the only way. Now let's get to the list. First on this list, almonds are a high-calorie food with an incredible micronutrient profile. They have about 3 to 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. This may feel low because almonds are the highest on this list of fat, mainly monounsaturated fat, which is considered heart-healthy due to its benefiting of cholesterol and blood pressure. They're the best source on this list of vitamin E, an antioxidant that helps maintain the immune system and your skin, and vitamin B2, which mainly functions in energy production. And they're also a good source of manganese and magnesium. Almonds are rich in protective flavonoid antioxidants, notably catechin, quercetin, and camphorol, and they are considered a very satiating choice. Now, like most nuts, almonds do contain what are known as anti-nutrients. In particular, it's higher in phytic acid, which binds to some minerals and prevents them from being absorbed. This can be somewhat remedied by soaking and roasting them though. Nuts and seeds are kind of like the eggs of the plant world, so it makes sense that they have a lot to offer. So much so that the protein actually gets overshadowed, so despite being an amazing food, on this list, I'm going to put almonds in the C tier. Cooked amaranth is a low-calorie food with a lower micronutrient profile to match. Amaranth absorbs water when cooked, explaining its lower calorie content. It'll provide just shy of 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. That protein is considered more complete, especially compared to most grains and legumes, meaning that it's not lacking in any of the essential amino acids. Amaranth is a decent source per calorie of manganese, phosphorus, and magnesium, and it's antioxidant-rich, containing various phenolic acids, flavonoids, and carotenoids. It's also worth mentioning that it has a lower anti-nutrient content when cooked. The main draw as it applies to this list, though, is that you don't need to eat as many calories to get to its protein. Thus, I'm going to put amaranth in the B tier. Beans are an average caloried set of food with a respectable micronutrient profile. These are the numbers specifically for pinto beans, seemingly the most popular type. They'll give you about 6 grams of protein per 100 calories. Beans are higher in fiber, both soluble and insoluble fiber, and they're among the best sources of folate. Beans as a food group are antioxidant rich, the exact compounds depending on the type of beans, but it often includes a variety of flavonoids and anthocyanins. And beans are considered a very satiating set of foods due to their protein and fiber. Now, they can be anti-nutrient dense, though soaking and cooking does help with this. Maybe not the first choice for protein, but they are one of these staple supplemental sources, and I'm going to put beans in the B tier. Buckwheat groats are a low-calorie food with a fittingly lesser micronutrient profile. Same thing here, the cooked groats absorb water, resulting in less calories by weight. They'll give you just below 4 grams of protein per 100 calories, and its protein is considered complete. Buckwheat groats are fairly fibrous per calorie, with a considerable amount of it being soluble, which is used to feed beneficial gut bacteria. They're also antioxidant-rich, including flavonoids like quercetin and rutin, phenolic acids like ferulic, gallic, and chlorogenic acids, and and DCI, which is shown to improve insulin sensitivity. Buckwheat groats also have a lower anti-nutrient content than most foods on this list. A great food in its own right that falls a bit short in some ways compared to much of this list, I'm putting buckwheat groats in the C tier. Cashews are a high-calorie food with a micronutrient profile that's just nuts. They have about 3 grams of protein per 100 calories. This is lower due to cashews being very fatty, mainly consisting of the heart-healthy monounsaturated fat. Cashews are the highest on this list of copper, which is crucial for red blood cell formation, and it's a notable source of magnesium and zinc. Cashews are polyphenol-rich, notably high in catechins, and they have a low glycemic index as well as several components that help lower blood sugar. Cashews are higher in the phytic acid anti-nutrient, though this can be remedied via soaking and roasting. These are not as protein dense per calorie, but they're a great food that can help you reach your total goal. I'm going to put cashews in the C tier. Chia seeds are a high-calorie food with an exceptional micronutrient profile. They contain between 3 to 4 grams of protein per 100 calories, and their protein is considered more complete. This is another very fatty food, this time mainly ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, one of the omega-3s, albeit the worst one due to it being inefficiently converted to be useful. Chia seeds are the highest in fiber by weight, mainly insoluble fiber, and they're the highest in selenium, which is used to make DNA. They're also among the best sources of phosphorus, copper, magnesium, calcium, and vitamin B3. And chia seeds are very antioxidant rich, containing various polyphenols including quercetin, myricetin, and caffeic acid. The main downside on this list is that they're not especially protein dense per calorie like most seeds and nuts, and so I'm going to put chia seeds in the C tier. Edamame is a lowish calorie food with a solid micronutrient profile. This is the first of many soy foods on this list, this time providing about 8 grams of protein per 100 grams, and its protein is considered complete. Edamame is a good source per calorie of folate, vitamin K, and choline. Being just immature soybeans, they are rich in isoflavones, which have anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer effects. Edamame are shown to lower LDL cholesterol and have a generally lower anti-nutrient content than most legumes. Most of the time, edamame blows the competition out of the water, but on this list it's a bit more tame. I can only afford to put them in the A tier. Falafel is a higher calorie food with a shoddy micronutrient profile. It's usually made of dried ground chickpeas or fava beans mixed with several herbs and spices and then deep fried or baked. They'll give you about 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. They are pretty fibrous, mainly insoluble fiber, and they contain some antioxidants, phenolic acids, and flavonoids akin to their base beans. Falafel is notably low in anti-nutrients due to the process of making them. The main problem, though, stems from that process. Deep fried foods are often a much higher carcinogenic risk. They're much better when they're baked, but they're still not particularly impressive nutritionally. I feel I have no choice but to put falafel in the D tier. Flaxseed is a high-calorie food with a fantastic micronutrient profile. They contain between 3 to 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. This is another seed that is very fatty, a significant amount of it being the ALA omega-3, again, the less effective one. Flaxseed is very fiber-dense, most of it being insoluble fiber, and it's the best source on this list of vitamin B1, which is essential for carbohydrate metabolism. They're also a great source of copper, manganese, magnesium, and choline. Flaxseed is very rich in lignans, a powerful kind of anti-inflammatory compound, as well as several phenolic acids. They are somewhat anti-nutrient dense, notably having a fair amount of phytic acid, but it can be reduced by numerous means. Like most seeds, there's a lot going on here, so much so that the actual protein content is quite quaint. Thus, I'm going to put flaxseed in the C tier. Hemp seeds are a high-calorie food with a ludicrous micronutrient profile. They'll give you just shy of 6 grams of protein per 100 grams, and its protein is more complete than most. Hemp seeds are very fatty, mainly polyunsaturated fat, with a fair amount of it being ALA. They're the highest on this list of manganese, a cofactor in metabolism, immune function, and bone health, phosphorus, which is needed to make bones, DNA, and cell membranes, magnesium, a preserver of your nervous and muscular systems, and zinc, which is used in immune function and wound healing, and they're among the highest of copper and vitamin B1. Hemp seeds contain antioxidant compounds, notably tocotrienols, which protect everything from your heart to your brain to your skin, and they're rich in the arginine amino acid, which has cardiovascular and blood pressure benefits. Hemp seeds are also lower in their anti-nutrient contents than much of this list. As a whole, they stand below and way above other choices in different ways. On this list, I'm putting hemp seeds in the B tier. Lentils are a lower calorie food with an on par micronutrient profile. They'll provide a solid just under 8 grams of protein per 100 calories when cooked. This is largely because lentils are virtually fat free and they're richer in fiber, mainly insoluble fiber. Lentils are among the best sources of folate and they're fairly iron rich per calorie. They're polyphenol rich, including cyanidins, catechins, and phenolic acids, and also saponins, which are anti inflammatory and LDL lowering. Lentils notably have a low anti-nutrient content and their ease of cooking lowers it even further. Another popular plant protein pick, I'm putting lentils in the B tier. Lupin beans, also known as lupini, are a lower calorie food with a manageable micronutrient profile. Protein has always been their main selling point as they have an amazing 13 grams per 100 calories. This makes them the highest non-soy or gluten option on this list. And to push it even further, its protein is considered very complete. Lupin beans are rich in oligosaccharides compared to most legumes, which promote a healthy gut microbiome, and gluten, a storage protein that aids with blood sugar regulation. And lupin beans are generally lower in their anti-nutrient content when compared to most legumes. Still a very unique food, expected to become one of the faces of plant protein in the coming years as it shines with that more than most anything. Lupin beans will be the first resident of the top tier. Miso is an average caloried food with a relevant micronutrient profile. It's made by fermenting soybeans by implementing a starter culture called koji, where a strain of fungi breaks down a grain. It contains between 6 and 7 grams of protein per 100 calories. The main draw of miso is its fermentation. It makes all its beneficial nutrients more bioavailable and gives it a probiotic effect, as miso is full of beneficial bacteria that support gut health. While variable depending on its fermentation process, miso is a great source of vitamin K2, which regulates calcium deposit in bones, maintaining bone health. And just like all soy, it contains isoflavones that combat inflammation and certain cancers and improve heart health. The main things to watch out for are the high sodium content and potential allergens. Miso is mild nutrient-wise on the surface, but it's much better absorbed than most foods on this list, and I'm going to put it in the A tier. Mycoprotein is a low-calorie food with a stellar micronutrient profile. It's made of the mycelium of certain fungi that go through fermentation and heat treatment. So technically it is not a plant protein, but it's also not animal-based, so it felt fitting to include. And it'll provide about 12 grams of protein per 100 calories, and it is considered a complete protein. It's among the best sources of manganese and zinc, and it's a good source per calorie of phosphorus, selenium, and folate. Mycoprotein is rich in the antioxidants ergothioneine and glutathione, which are fairly unique to mushrooms, and it notably has a low anti-nutrient content when compared with most plant proteins. While mycoprotein is somewhat new to the scene, it is considered safe by the FDA, though some may have allergy or digestive issues with it. I should also mention that some products of it contain eggs or milk. A new challenger approaches in the world of protein, and I think right now I'm going to put mycoprotein in the top tier. Natto is a somewhat higher calorie food with a satisfactory micronutrient profile. It's made by fermenting cooked soybeans with a particular type of bacteria, and it contains over 9 grams of protein per 100 calories. Natto's fermentation gives it probiotics that improve gut health, and it improves the bioavailability of its protein and many of its other nutrients. It's among the highest in iron and one of the best sources of vitamin K2. Being a soy food, it contains isoflavones as well as nattokinase, an enzyme produced during fermentation that's shown to boost heart health by improving blood flow. Now, just because something is unique, that doesn't make it good. Natto just happens to be both, and I'm going to put it in the top tier. Oats are a higher calorie food with a great micronutrient profile. They'll provide between 3 to 4 grams of protein per 100 calories, and oats have a far better protein quality than most grains. Oats are the most carb-dense food on this list, and fittingly also among the highest in fiber, with a significant amount of it being the soluble beta-glucan, which is shown to improve cholesterol levels. They're also high in resistant starch, which also has a prebiotic effect. Oats are among the best sources of manganese, and they're rich in a couple of key antioxidants, ferulic acid and the unique avenanthramides. They do have a fair amount of the anti-nutrient phytic acid, but this is remedied partially by cooking. Oats are arguably the premier grain, but protein is one of their elements that is just good, not great. On this list, I'm putting them in the C tier. Okara is a low-calorie food with a mild micronutrient profile to match. Also known as soy pulp, it is the fiber-rich pulp left over from making soy milk. It'll give you between 4 and 5 grams of protein per 100 calories, and it has a better protein quality than most. Obviously, Okara is very fiber-rich per calorie, mainly containing insoluble fiber. And it's also rich in isoflavin and tocopherol antioxidants. Its creation process also leaves it with a low anti-nutrient content. Okara doesn't have quite as much going on compared to most soy products, and I'm going to put it in the B tier. Peanuts are a high-calorie food with a solid micronutrient profile. They're among the highest protein by weight and have about 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. This is because they are very fatty, mainly containing the heart-healthy monounsaturated fat. Peanuts are the highest on this list of vitamin B3, which is mainly used in energy production. And it's also among the highest of magnesium, vitamin E, and biotin. Peanuts are polyphenol-rich, notably containing resveratrol and coumaric acid, and they are considered a very satiating food. Now, peanuts do have a fair anti-nutrient content with relevant amounts of phytates, lectins, and tannins. However, the usual processes of soaking and roasting them does help relieve this. And unfortunately, peanuts are a pretty common allergen, preventing them from being an option for many people. But for everyone else, nuts still have a lot to offer, so much so that it almost drowns out the protein. And so I'm going to put peanuts in the C tier. Peas are a low-calorie food with a more unique micronutrient profile. They provide between 6 and 7 grams of protein per 100 calories. Peas are a decent source of fiber per calorie, mainly insoluble fiber, and they also contain about 6 grams of sugar. They're the best source on this list of vitamin C, a key antioxidant that's also essential for collagen synthesis, and provitamin A carotenoids, which support eye health and immune health. Peas contain antioxidants commonly found in green vegetables, including quercetin, camphorol, and lutein and zeaxanthin. They are moderately anti-nutrient rich, containing phytic acid and lectins, but these are reduced by cooking. Probably not the first thing that comes to mind when one thinks protein, but peas can certainly help in the endeavor, and I'm putting them in the B tier. Pistachios are a high-calorie food with a standout micronutrient profile. They'll give you just under 4 grams of protein per 100 calories. Pistachios are a very fatty nut, with most of it being the heart-healthy monounsaturated fat. And they're also pretty fibrous, containing mainly insoluble fiber. Pistachios are the best source on this list of vitamin B6, which plays key roles in nerve and heart health. And they're among the highest of copper and vitamin B1. They contain some key antioxidants like tocopherols, lutein, and zeaxanthin, as well as several components that help lower blood pressure and LDL cholesterol. Pistachios do contain phytic acid, but this is reduced by the usual roasting. Not the most protein-dense food, but nuts are very complete, and pistachios are one of the more protein-forward nuts. And I'm going to put them in the C tier. Cooked quinoa is a lower-calorie food with a moderate micronutrient profile. It'll give you about 4 grams of protein per 100 calories, and its protein is considered complete. Quinoa has a good amount of resistant starch, which acts as a prebiotic, feeding beneficial gut bacteria, and it's rich in key flavonoid antioxidants like quercetin and camphorol. It can be rather satiating for how low-calorie it is, and it has a lower anti-nutrient content than most of the foods on this list. A generally nutrient-dense food, just not a standout in any one way on this list. I'm going to put quinoa in the B tier. Seitan is a lowish calorie food with a solid micronutrient profile. It's made by isolating gluten protein from wheat. While its protein content may vary, many push up to 20 grams per 100 calories, the highest on this list by far. Though admittedly its protein is far from perfect, mainly lacking in the lysine amino acid. Seitan is among the better sources of selenium and phosphorus, and it's a good source of iron per calorie. It also tends to have a lower anti-nutrient content than most foods on this list. Seitan does come with a couple potential caveats, that being that many products are very sodium dense, and obviously it's not for those who can't tolerate gluten. But for everyone else, seitan is basically just plant protein incarnate, and it's going in the top tier. Sesame seeds are a high-calorie food with a superb micronutrient profile. They contain about 3 grams of protein per 100 calories. They're very fatty, a good mix of mono and polyunsaturated fat. Sesame seeds are the highest on this list of calcium, which is the primary building block of bones, and iron, which is needed to deliver oxygen throughout the body. And they're among the highest of copper, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin B1. Sesame seeds are rich in lignans like sesamin and sesamol, which have heart protective and anti-arthritic benefits. And they also have a high phytosterol content, which lowers LDL cholesterol and has anti-cancer benefits. They are notably high in phytic acid and oxalates, but this content can be reduced by soaking and cooking. Another seed with a crowded nutritional profile, I'm putting sesame seeds in the C tier. Soybeans are an average caloried food with a standard micronutrient profile. They'll give you about 11 grams of protein per 100 calories, one of the better sources per calorie, and their protein is considered complete. Soybeans contain a relevant amount of fiber, mainly insoluble fiber, and they're rich in molybdenum, which is needed for the function of several enzymes. They also contain some magnesium and iron, and of course isoflavones with their anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer properties. Soybeans do have a higher anti-nutrient content, phytates and lectins, though these are reduced by the usual manners. Nothing else is too impressive, but they also have no weak link. I think soybeans belong in the A tier. Soybean sprouts are a low-calorie food with an impressive micronutrient profile, and like soybeans, they'll give you just shy of 11 grams of protein per 100 calories, again with that protein being complete. They're the best source on this list of vitamin K, which is crucial for producing blood clotting factors, and they have a higher isoflavone content than regular soybeans. Sprouting also breaks down soybeans' anti-nutrients, allowing for improved bioavailability of beneficial nutrients. Another great and uncomplicated choice, soybean sprouts are going in the A tier. Sprouted bread is an average caloried food with a moderate micronutrient profile. It averages around 7 grams of protein per 100 calories. It has a higher carb content than most on this list and a relevant fiber content, and the sprouting makes it more soluble fiber, which improves digestion and heart health. Sprouted bread is a good source of manganese and selenium, and it's rich in various phenolic acids, including ferulic, coumaric, and vanillic acids. The sprouting also increases nutrient bioavailability by decreasing anti-nutrient content. A king among breads, now thrown into a whole different ballgame, I'm going to put sprouted bread in the B tier. Tempeh is an average caloried food with a passable micronutrient profile. It's basically a cake made of cooked soybeans fermented with a particular mold culture. It'll provide over 10 grams of protein per 100 calories and a complete and very bioavailable protein at that. Tempeh is among the best sources of vitamin B2, a great plant source of vitamin K2, and a good source per calorie of copper and manganese. Tempeh is rich in soy's isoflavones, and it contains hydroxyanthranilic acid, which protects against lipid oxidation. Its unique fermentation means that it may contain both probiotics and prebiotics, benefiting intestinal health, and the fermentation improves the absorbability of many of its key nutrients. One of the premier soy and plant protein choices, tempeh is an easy slot into the top tier. Dried textured vegetable protein, or TVP for short, is a higher calorie food with a triumphant micronutrient profile. It is usually dehydrated, defatted soy flour, but can also be made with peas, beans, lentils, or wheat. It's absurdly protein dense per gram, but ends up at about 14 grams of protein per 100 calories, and when made of soy, as it usually is, its protein is considered complete. TVP is higher in fiber, mainly insoluble fiber, as well as often sugar, often pushing 15 grams. It is the best source on this list of potassium, crucial for maintaining cellular fluid balance and blood pressure, and folate, which is mainly known for DNA and red blood cell synthesis. It's also among the best sources of copper, manganese, phosphorus, selenium, and magnesium. TVP is rich in isoflavones that are even more active due to heat treatment, and the process to make TVP significantly lowers its anti-nutrient content. One of the few times where drastically altering a natural food objectively makes it better in a lot of ways. I'm putting textured vegetable protein in the top tier. And last on this list, tofu is an average caloried food with a quality micronutrient profile. It contains about 12 grams of protein per 100 calories, and of course that protein is pretty complete. Calcium sulfate is the most common coagulant to make tofu, making it usually a pretty good source of calcium. Tofu is of course rich in isoflavone and phenolic acid antioxidants, and the process to make tofu significantly breaks it down, making its nutrients overall significantly more bioavailable than standard soybeans. Arguably the definitive soy product, tofu is rounding out this list in the top tier. While I'm not giving up my meat anytime soon, some plant foods make a strong case for being viable alternatives. Not only the natural foods themselves, but this list highlights many ways that we can alter foods in a positive way, enhancing the merit that was already there rather than removing it or trying to make it something that it's not. And that is the main reason I didn't include any of the plant-based meat products. I feel they require more explanation than a format like this can give them. Maybe someday I'll break them down. But if you like getting your protein from plant foods, you best be sure you're looking in in the right places. And even if you don't, you can always try some of these out. You might find you like them. Now, if you enjoyed this video, or at the very least learned a little something, I encourage you to subscribe as I have many more of them on the way. I also encourage you to share it with someone who you think might find it useful or interesting. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments what else you think I should rank, and remember that all I ask is that you do your own research and advocate for your body. You only get the one.